Besides, I only shot their arm offs. Relax. They'll grow back.
No, they won't.
What? You said they would.
I was joking.
You joke?
What are you talking about? I'm hilarious.
I think I'm gonna talk like this the rest of the show.
Okay. I can
Ray,
live with that.
Ray, we'll take him. We can raise him together.
Hey, lay down, you friggin' water brains.
Okay, so for all you guys listening, this is gonna be another first. This is gonna be the first time we actually cover a podcast.
So, listeners, you can tell by now that we love feeling like virgins all over again. We love first time. Oh my god!
You
It's
guys-
podcast on podcast. Oh yeah.
Oh my god. So if you guys follow our crossover connection lineup on our feed, you'll probably notice on the February 1st, we posted an episode from Human-B-Gon. And the episode is, and it just cracks me up. The episode name is Dinger Danger. Because humans are dingers.
Yeah, I
Oh
remember.
no, only the ones with guns are dingers.
Oh yes. Yes.
For some reason, the word danger reminds me of a friend of mine that didn't want to say bad words in front of the kids, so he changed every cursing for dingleberry.
Do you know what a dingleberry actually is?
I'm sure, dude.
Oh my god.
It's disgusting.
That dude was wrong. Listeners out there, the correct definition of a dingleberry is actually a piece of poo hanging off the back of a sheep on a wool around its ass. Okay?
Okay, you know,
That's a dingleberry.
you guys will know in the pre-show I said whatever Captain Chaos is
We're on
drinking,
fire today. We're on fire today.
dude.
And the worst is we are all sober.
We had an hour and a half pre-show while we were waiting for the no-show guest, and oh my god, if we recorded that, we would have been in so much trouble.
Only available for patrons. Robert, don't come to me later when you're being actually chased off because they want to hear that.
Oh
They're
my
like, I'll pay my Patreon. I want to see it.
It's all up here, and that's where it's
Yeah.
staying.
Use your imagination, because you know if you post, it's gonna be all beep.
They should know that I'm a total tease.
So you know,
As I said in the pre-show, I would pay to have Geo beeped out of my brain from what he said earlier.
But the funny
Okay,
thing is
Gio.
that they were both laughing.
okay, say that again, Gio.
What?
I sounded like I was laughing, but I was crying.
Say that again, Gio.
Listen to me, Robert. You.
Oh, we're having too much fun. And this is, you know, this is the feeling that I got when I listened to this episode. It was just so hilarious, and I hope that you guys found it as hilarious as I did. And this is the reason why we're covering. We hope that our guest, there's nothing going wrong. We were expecting to have the guest come in, so hope everything is okay, and maybe we can do it over again. But this is going to be our very first time we're covering a podcast, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Should we move on to the first segment?
Yeah.
We are Science Fiction Remnant.
This is the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
We are the Caribbean Science Fiction Network.
We are Monorats.
We are One Accord Level 2 Podcast.
This is Jesse from Sudden But Inevitable and Open Pike Night.
This is SciFi.
And you know the drill. If you want to appear on this segment, all you got to do is just follow a hashtag. let's engage in the conversation. The hashtag This Is Sci-Fi was created to kind of join forces. You have a specific taste in sci-fi, you have a specific genre you love. What better is than sharing that love with all of us? So if you are a creator of sci-fi or you're a fan of sci-fi, all you got to do is post and follow, and let's join the conversation. This is what we're all about, and basically what happens in this podcast. Um, Gio, you kind of brought flame to the to the last
I
conversation.
always do, man. I told you, I'm the reason that people come to this show is to see what crazy ass motherfucker I can bring up. And now I'll bring the new frontier of sci-fi memes originally.
Yes.
Original
So
memes.
if you are paying attention to our Instagram and our Twitter, you'll notice there is an influx in memes. Blame
And you can
Captain.
find it through This Is Sci-Fi.
Yes. So
Oh,
you
yeah.
follow that. And if you're one of the few that are following TikTok,
Oh yeah. I'm becoming a rock superstar there.
you get to see Captain Chaos in its in its best, bringing the chaos to TikTok. So
maybe they'll hire Human-B-Gon to get rid of him.
I mean, good luck with that. I think that the AI is gonna do just like our discussion today on Asimov, and he's gonna just like the multi-bag is like does not compute. I'm sorry, Dave. I cannot do that.
to bring you a little context to what we're talking about, and again, if you follow This Is Sci-Fi hashtag, you'll be well involved. The conversation is hot and is big. It started with the author of a comic book, which we'll be covering soon, called Stagnant Waters. His name is James Walton.
James
He
Walton.
actually posted a question
Very
about
interesting.
Asimov's last question. It's all related to foundation and all his,
Not for him to feel bad. Not a question. He posted an essay question.
Well, no, it was.
Hey, I replied to him with all my pride with a tone.
I would have to beg you differ if you compare the responses from Sayyadina.
I mean, Sayyadina is tricky. And I was actually, she had me sweating because I was like I was doubting myself at the beginning. I was like, it didn't make any sense at all. I thought I did. But most of the times I think I do, and I don't.
And of course, we got Seldom Crisis because you have to. We're talking about Asimov. So, his podcast, by the way, if you love Asimov, you should go ahead and listen to it.
Oh, yeah.
So notice how we're not saying much about the conversation.
Hell no. Go and find out for yourself.
Just go and follow the hashtag. And especially if you like Asimov and if you like Foundation, you're gonna encounter this conversation just really hot and really cool. So that's what it's all about, bringing the love out of sci-fi to everyone else.
And opening the can of worms. Always.
Gio, are you ready for your segment?
I'm going to make a recording. I'm going to make a recording on myself just saying, I'm never, but life keeps on happening. So what gives?
Don't worry. I can always do this. Go ahead.
You see, actually, laughter is the remedy of everything. I bet your ass that you're feeling better now.
Yeah.
You can use a human voice for that.
What, this voice?
Well, first off, let's continue. Moving on, Robert. Now I am paying you with the same back. How tables turn? Hey, I took that girl there. Hey, baby girl. You just got Victor.
I'm sorry, Robert. You can't be a human. You still got your arms attached.
They'll grow back. Don't worry.
Must have grown back.
I got all the things that grow back. Well, moving on. But first and foremost, first and foremost, I want to remember everybody that we are proud members of the Blind Knowledge Network. So please start right now if you want to find something new. I always see people ask making questions like new podcasts or new content creators, something fun to listen to. And I mean, I won't tell you go and check us out because you're listening to this here, so you better be listening to us already. But go and check them out. Go to their website, blindknowledge.com. They have a lot of different array of content creator and good variety. So I'm sure that whatever you're into, you like, whatever flies your ship, you're gonna find it there. I promise you. Go check them out. Now, for our shout outs, and I mean, it's been hot this week, like you just said, Robert. Hot conversation. Actually, gonna shout out a couple of good fellas that were engaging with me in the conversation with you guys. It was fun, man. It was fun. It keeps it alive. And I'm gonna start with cult film companion, and their hashtag is cult film comp. What the heck is going on with my tongue?
That's what she said.
Yep. Seldom Crisis Podcast, and you can find their handle on Twitter and find all their links to listen to them too at Seldom Crisis Pod. Also, one of my favorites, the Heretical Sayyadina, and you can find her Twitter handle at Sayyadina Heresy.
Sayyadina,
Sayyadina,
we love you.
you awesome. Also, we mentioned him, but I wanted to give you a shout out. He's awesome too. Great content. I love his comic, James Walton, and you can find his all his work related things and posts that he makes. He always have something interesting. He was actually the fire starter. James start the fire. Na, 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 na. It was him, man. And I mean, I'm thankful actually. It was very fun. You can find actually his Twitter handle, James Walton, James W the writer. I repeat that, James W the writer. You can find that Twitter handle. You'll find him Twitter, and you can look at all his work. I definitely suggest you to go and check that book. Stagnant Waters is awesome. One of our actually regulars, Ely Zimmerman. Always glad to engage with him too.
History.net. What?
Kelly Szentgyorgyi. Thank you again. Always glad to see you in our feed. Always glad to also engage in conversations with you. And you can find her Twitter handle at Antipodal. Also, Geek to Me Radio. Awesome guys. Go and check them out too. And you can find them at Geek to Me Radio, just like that, non-capital, everything together. Also, these guys have a special place in my heart. Shonen Flopcast.
Yeah, we had them on one episode.
I want to go back to them actually, and I saw, just for the record, I actually in their Discord, that I think that Discord is underrated. Discord is pretty cool. Everybody should be in Discord, man.
Yeah,
that's like the Discord is like the underground of cool people.
Yeah. So if you want to be cool too, you can join our Discord.
Hell yeah. And then from there on, it's just kind of warms that you're gonna just not gonna find an end to all the stuff. I actually was deleting just a bunch of servers I added. Just it's kind of like an addiction when you start adding shit. And you're like, okay, I don't belong here really. Then let me get out. Also, for you to find Shonen Flop, and they have a nice Discord too and website. Their show is awesome, man. Go and check them at Shonen Flopcast in their Twitter. You can find all their links from there. Also, the Latin Jukebox. They are pretty interesting folks. I like their content too. They have very nice, interesting things to say. I do suggest them. Anybody that wants to find something different but interesting, that's a good place to go. And you can find them at Rocola del Rollo, just like that, with a K. Rocola del Rollo. That's their
And how do
Twitter
you say
handle.
that for the Spanish speakers?
Rocola del Rollo. Yeah, papi, mamis. I'm telling you, man, I'm fucking fired today. This is what happened when I don't drink.
Or sleep.
The scary thing is he is sober.
I know. That's why I'm sitting here like cringing.
That's like a number thing in me, man. The least intoxicated I am, the crazier it gets.
I'm waiting for him to wind down, but I could be waiting, like geological time frames here.
Hey, I saw some weird ass post today that I just posted. Like, this is some backward Darwinian shit here going on right now. Like, just people are getting just dumber. Somebody sent like a photo of a COVID test, and they're like, "What are you sending me?" This like, "I was with you yesterday." Like, yeah, I got a vasectomy 5 years ago. I was like, no, we're just getting dumber.
Oh my god. Okay.
Hey, moving on. Next one in the list is CheapSeat Reviews. Also great podcast. You go and check them out. CheapSeat Reviews, just like that, right? You can find them on Twitter as well. Oh, everybody that I'm gonna mention, you can find them on Twitter, and you can branch out from there to your preference. Somebody that has special place in my heart, Creek Indian.
Creaky.
My bro, Creaky.
Yeah, Mr. Buff. And you can find
the 8,000-year-old power lifter.
8,000 men.
Oh yeah, that Den said that one time. He was 8,000 years old. I don't know where he got that from, but
He wouldn't mind us. Like he has something to teach to Alita, right? That granny.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose 73 does seem like 8,000 years to some people.
It's been 84 years. And you can find actually Creek's handle by typing is Musco? I think I have a typo.
Muskogee Creek.
Muskogee Creek. Yeah, because I put Muskie, but I know it was wrong.
MuskigeeCreek.
There you go. Thank you. You just saved my life, man. As usual. And moving on.
What us mad scientists do.
Yeah, man. All you do for humanity. Well, I can actually put myself some credit on that, since you said that you don't need to have anything to be a scientist.
Anyone can be a citizen scientist.
Yeah,
you just have to think about
scientist.
shit.
I'm a scientist, man.
Oh boy.
You're a force of nature. That's what you are.
Hey, without me, you don't have anything to peck on and experiment.
Oh, so you are the
I am like a lab rat that escaped, and now I am being observed from afar.
to quote Captain Chaos, I'm not always right, but when I'm a feisty idiot.
You're right about that. On point.
It actually says, but when I'm, not when I am. It says, but when I'm a feisty idiot.
That proves the point right there.
It does, yes.
Now you're becoming a grammar Nazi.
I'm an editor. Of course I'm a grammar Nazi.
Hey, I thought that you were a scientist, not a professor of grammar.
No words for you. No words for you.
Next one in the list is going to be Martha, parentheses, totally not on Earth. Smooth. Always smooth to read that. I like it. And actually, her Twitter handle is nerdy4 history. Also, last but not least, Abby Sommer, and you can find her Twitter handle at Abby Sommer, altogether with double B and Y and double M. And actually, she's also a host for a very fun and fantastic podcast about Star Trek. Go and check her out. Go and check her podcast. Give all of them the support. They deserve it. And we'll wrap it up for this portion of the show. Let's move on to the next.
You forgot to mention Blown Knowledge.
I just did it on the beginning, man.
Oh, did you? Well, then why is it written at the end? That's confusing.
Let's and figure it out. I'm the guy that has been up for 2 days, and he said that he's waiting for my brain to fall off and fail.
It's not my fault you can't understand Occam's razor.
And the next segment.
The Outer Remnant.
Did you guys go anywhere this week?
Well, I've been out of my mind, but let us know where you've been.
Well, I was gonna mention for all of you guys out there to be in the lookout because we occasionally or randomly just open up Twitter spaces to have awesome sci-fi conversations. So we had one. Was it last week, Gio?
Yes.
It was amazing. And we were just talking about all the sci-fi goodies So I don't know if you're
We
not
heard
familiar
it
with
from him. We had it last week, and it was amazing.
exactly.
Ray, little paper on the screen right now.
Oh, sorry, wrong one.
Well, whoever didn't see that, you gotta go to the YouTube channel to catch up
We're
on that.
we're not going to say a
Well
thing.
done.
If you want to know what it is, you got to wait a month. And
You're gonna have to
watch
get to the YouTube, get to the chopper.
So yeah, we if you're not familiar with Twitter
Go,
Spaces,
run, get to the YouTube.
Twitter Spaces is where it's kind of like, how can you describe it? We basically open it up, you join in, and we can have a conversation with everyone.
It's like just being like people that you enjoy being with in an elevator, having a nice talk without farting.
Yes.
What's going on with me today?
The pre-show that will never be mentioned again, he talked about farting in an elevator for 5 minutes.
Look,
I
man,
don't know why.
I'm just saying the groundwork that they're never gonna know. They're never gonna know. And they're just gonna wonder, like, if this is the actual show, what the is going on in the pre-show?
I feel like
That's gonna be-
tenderized meat after that pre-show.
But that is gonna be in the Patreon. I'm gonna tell you all, guys. You're gonna have to go to only Gian's.
Only Gian.
And I'll be putting soonly at Fansly. Okay, guys?
Okay, so I guess that's where we have been. Is
Bring us the chaos.
Have you been anywhere, Ray? So we can move on.
Yeah, I'm running away. I don't know about being anywhere, but I'm going now.
Oh God. Oh, yeah.
Well, after the failure that was the previous week, we did manage to have a Radio Chaos episode this week. People weren't ill and unavailable, but we had episode 150, so 150 episodes, which is no small amount. But it was Job Hunt. If Alita wasn't a hunter warrior, what other jobs might she be good at? There were some really interesting ones mentioned there. Of course, someone had to mention a maid cafe because that's the sort of audience we've got there. Security guard, TV presenter, aged care worker, construction worker, librarian, yoga aerobics instructor. Basically we kind of think the leader could just about do anything she put her mind to. So
the only thing I can think of when you brought that up, the only thing I can think of about Alita is something like
oh God.
Oh my God.
Nobody suggested that, but that's because you weren't there. All right.
Exactly. Was not there, and maybe that was a good thing.
Robert, don't edit it. Don't edit it, okay? That's gotta come in the show. We already are.
Oh my God. So I can beep it out. Oh man.
Just don't hear the episode. Let us start a little bit our listeners.
Just beep out everything else he says in the entire episode except that bit. And then it'll be out of context, it'll be fine.
That's just gonna raise our listeners because they're gonna be like, what the hell did he say the whole show then if this is the only thing we hear from here?
Oh God. Awesome. Okay.
So yeah.
So should we move on?
Are we ready to remove some humans from their non-natural habitat and take it to the trash island?
You do that so well. You should get a job on that podcast.
Didn't you know? Robert actually went to the audition for Minions, but they told him no because he was talking too fast.
Well, to be honest, I was actually hiding in Garbage Island.
You're on holidays there, were you?
I never wanted to talk lowly of you, but that's why you kind of strike me like a trashy kind of person.
I saw all those people come in without any arms,
They were armless.
Oh wow! So
You receive them with a big embrace.
uh,
What do you call a guy with no arms and no legs floating in the water?
Like a turd in the wind. Venom.
Bob.
okay, so Ray, do we have a plot?
Well, Wikipedia has failed me because this is a podcast. They don't tend to put plots of podcasts on Wikipedia. Actually, Robert was very kind enough to dig up some text for me to read to you guys. I should have one of those voice changes so that I could be a robot. Welcome to the future. The machines have taken over and now live in their suburban lives in Droidston, Manitoba. But there's still a problem of human infestation. Follow the crew of emotionally unstable robots as they capture stray humans and ethically relocate them to Garbage Island, where Robert is recording from right now.
So trashy. Say hi to the Kardashians for me.
God, what a trash heap. So this is the synopsis. Excited by the AI takeover? Lol at the future where robots capture stray humans. Set in a terrifyingly near future, we follow the crew of emotionally unstable robots as they capture stray humans who the machines regard as chittering pests.
Oh,
come on, Robert.
And I got a second to that. That's quite accurate with the present condition of humans.
Using reality TV as a sonic template, Human-B-Gon is a darkly comedic look at self-awareness, insecurity, love, denial, existential dread, class struggle, and humanity's adorable sense of self-importance. Thank you.
Okay, so from now on,
You'll be amazing.
I'm just going to say that this podcast is completely amazing because
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You switch gear really quick right there.
One of the things that I like about the way that this podcast is designed is what you mentioned. Is they're using that template of reality TV. So the first thing that came to mind, it was like you kind of feel like you're watching shows kind of like Cops. Have you remember that show?
The way they just talk to the camera in inverted commas, with that same tone, that same sort of offhand. Yeah, you guys should already know all this tone. It was very definitely reality TV Cops kind of.
TV Cops. I felt a lot of like what's it called? New York Shore, NY Shore, something like that. Some NTV stuff.
Well, it kind of have that vibe too, but only because I think that's what that was all within that type
genre
of programming.
Yeah, it's a genre, unfortunately.
But remember how I told you that I like when you mix sci-fi with other stuff? I think if I recall this correctly, this would be one of the first times that I see that being mixed with like
laxatives,
reality TV. I'm sorry,
laxatives.
So, it was real. You guys, you guys have not heard this prior to me showing it to you before, right?
No.
What was your first impression? I mean, my first impression is I couldn't stop laughing.
Same here.
I mean, this I would have to say it has his themes, but it's mostly just fun to listen to and comedic. What you guys can take turn. What was your first impression when you listened to this? And it's only like 30 minutes, the episode that we listened to for this.
Well, I mean, I've been saying way too much stuff, so I'll keep it short for this part at least. But I think it's smartly done, which I think is tasteful. I think it's a great blend of comedy, just like you say, putting sci-fi and putting actually some intellectual fun behind it. You know, it makes you think really, even though it's kind of hilarious, and you might think, "Oh, it's dumb." No, it's not. It's actually hilarious, but at the same time, it's smart as hell, man. So it's on point on there, and I mean, I think it's the best of both worlds. You know, because most people they don't like unfortunately the big compromise of like big length property, and there's no compromise on that on 30 minutes. You know, you can find yourself listening to more than one because you're having just too much fun. So I definitely suggest it, and I think that it's a fantastic show, man. And I think that Nanotoba is what Manitoba is gonna become from Canada, right? I'm not gonna
Yeah,
say that I was looking for it on the map.
definitely very close. So
Ray, take it away.
I found it in parts very witty. I did like some of the jokes. I thought some of the jokes didn't go over quite as well as they might have, but this is the first episode, and I do feel like we do some of these shows that especially the series, like a movie, we talk about the whole movie, but with a show that has multiple episodes, we only look at one episode generally, and if it's the very first episode, unless they really hit the ground running, and I mean like just hit a high point amazingly fast, it's really hard to get into something and really be connected with it in one episode. It's 30 minutes. It's like a quarter to a sixth of a movie, and of a movie length, and it doesn't have that time to settle in. I mean, we haven't done Babylon 5 yet, but the first season of Babylon 5 is really rough. As a I've got to keep bringing it up until Robert watches it. The first season of Babylon 5 is very rough, but the next couple of seasons are fantastic.
It's just like watching The Office. It's gonna be painful for the beginning, but then you just won't be able to stop.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's an entire season of television that you've got to wade through the bad acting before it starts to get good, right? And a lot of people don't, right? But
let me make clear: the Office, you got to make it through the first 3 seasons, but then you won't be able to stop.
Right?
You put so much time in it, you had to finish it. It's good.
Fair enough. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that it's really hard to gauge a show on their very first episode, because unless they really hit the ground running, and if you go back to the first episode of this podcast or the first episode of Radio Chaos, they're a mess. And we go back and we go, oh my God, did we actually sound like that?
You're being an abacus.
Look at the first episode of Science Fiction Remnant.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
That's
so it's really
quality.
hard. It's really hard to make everything stick in the first episode. And I found that there was some very, very smart writing in this, coming from my writing background, especially some of the commercials, like the retirement commercial. That was really smart. I felt that some of the terminology was reused to the point that it stopped being funny. So that sort of the jokes got recycled a few times and sort of wore out. But in general, it was witty, and there's no breaks. The Chaos Train has no breaks. It just kept going really, really fast. And sometimes I missed some of the jokes because they were delivered so quickly that I had to go back and have another listen to catch what they were actually saying. But all in all, I thought it was well put together and really well written and really well performed. The delivery of Hundo and what's the other, Influx, and their backing and forthing was really quite engaging. The way they bounced off each other. I thought Kit was a little bit over the top. He kind of felt like he was just too keen, which was probably the whole point of the character. But all in all, I did quite enjoy the show, and I want to listen to some more of it to sort of see how it settles in and how the storyline progresses as it moves on. But it's really hard to gauge something from just one 30-minute bite. So that's sort of how I felt from the first show. But like I said, when you see the very first part of the very first thing, it really hasn't had time to settle yet.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I
I think that the whole continuity of the progression of the story, starting from the beginning too, would completely change the experience of listening and absorbing that material too.
Yeah. Out of the main cast on this podcast, and it's kind of weird because this is the first podcast that we do, so it's
no, it's
kind
not.
of no.
Didn't we do the War of the Worlds?
Well, but yeah.
No, that was the
Yeah,
first
you're
time.
right.
That was the first time traveler that we did.
Yeah.
That was the
Okay.
first time traveling makeup artist.
Yeah,
Madison
that
Standish,
was
I love you, Madison Standish.
Madison. We have to have you back.
But when you come back, please bring me from Applebee's a pumpkin latte spice mocha.
But you can only get them at Halloween. You'll have to.
That's why I want it, because it's out of season. It's gonna be something out of everything. Like the most hipster thing I can ever think of is that.
Gio, I think you're a bit out of season at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I'm expired a time ago, man. Can you tell I'm going back?
Just don't turn around and show your expiration date.
He's so bad. He's good.
The good thing is I don't smell.
So going back to my question, and I guess I'll answer first.
Was there a
Out of the
question?
main cast, what is your favorite character? I like Hundo. That's
Hundo?
my Hundo. Do you
The
guys have
funny
a
thing is, I
favorite
like
character?
it. I like it the most because of the. I like it the most because of the dynamic here.
I can't really decide between Influx and Hondo because, you know, it's sort of like saying, who do you prefer more, Laurel or Hardy? And it's like, well, without one, the other really doesn't shine. So I kind of like the duo of Hondo and Influx because I don't really feel like you can separate them.
Poor kid. he was left alone in back in headquarters, Human-B-Gon, and apparently none of you find him like your favorite character.
I said the kid is my favorite character.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear you because he has humanitis.
Humanitis.
And it's really hard to find basmati rice this time of year.
But it's even really harder to actually debunk the algorithmitis.
I'm glad you had to say that and not me.
They're real, man. The algorithmitis are real, man. You can tell whatever you say. Call me crazy, conspirationist. Don't call me
you and
when
Influx
you
are
sick.
best friends. So apparently, Hundo and Kit were a thing, and they, this is
until the two orgasmatrons.
This is the thing about this, and I think Ray kind of talked about it previously.
When did you talk about orgasmatrons?
Well, you haven't let me finish, but you can fill in the conversation if you like. We can move on to your.
No pun intended.
What I was going to say is, we have gone through so many years. I mean, it's not specific on when, what year is this. I'm assuming this is like far into the future. But like
in a galaxy
robots and AI are actually the apex of civilization, and humans are just the pest. And on top of all that, we have how is it that you said it, Raid? We have AI robots behaving like humans, basically.
You think they could have found a better way to do it, wouldn't you?
and I think that's what's the comedy, the funny part about it is that you see it throughout the commercial. I mean, there's a commercial there that I find really funny where it's like something that to do with like your emotion chip or something like that. It's like you don't want to work and be productive. We can turn that off and you can just
that was actually my favorite part of the episode. That the wit in that commercial was probably the high point for me. The whole do you find yourself being neurotic and emotional? We can solve that for you. We can pull out your emotion chip and you can get back to being productive 24 hours a day.
I'm not ashamed to say it, but I could relate a lot to it.
I think Data would have something to say about that.
Yeah. So yeah, and the how clever for Garbage Mountain. I mean, this is actually a current problem right now. There was somewhere I can't remember where it was. Somewhere is it in China, where all the garbage is being imported into and being collected worldwide. I'm assuming. I mean, obviously, I don't know exactly if this is the case or not, but you can visualize it somewhere in the future where this happens. It could have become a mountain, a garbage mountain, and it's kind of clever how they mentioned, they created that. But why? It's like we don't know.
It's a monument to remember human society, and it reminds them probably of idiocracy.
Huh?
What?
Isn't it Garbage Island, not Garbage Mountain?
Yeah, Garbage Island.
Yeah, it was before. If you go a few years before, when the president was Hundo, it was an idiocracy, and it was a mountain.
You mean the documentary?
The documentary, yeah.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure.
The predictory documentary.
Sure, it wasn't a
huh?
Sure, it wasn't a mockumentary. No, there's actually an existing island of plastics floating in the middle of the Pacific.
Does it have models on it?
It might have humans going.
So there must be models. Models are like that, and they have plastics.
Not
recyclable. But organic for healthy people.
I'm going to have to use that sound clip for you. I'll get it ready for next episode. So, Gio, do you remember what would be your favorite part on this on the episode that we listened to, if that you can recall?
My favorite part was when Kid brought back up the issues that he had in the past with
Hundo.
With Hundo. And he just started like rubbing it on her face, and she's just like trying to make it sound cool. But really, she's not getting over him. To me, that was hilarious. That was like, no, this is it.
But then they circled round back to that at the end when they decided to bring the human up together.
And I wanted to bring a question back to both of you, because you both have cats. It seems to me that in this future, we humans become the cats.
That means we rule the planet finally.
Yeah, exactly.
We became the very virus that we intended to imitate.
These robots are neurotic. It's not even possible.
Well, that means that AI created itself very well.
Well, no, if humans programmed the computers that eventually gain sentience, and humans are fallible, then of course the programming of the robots is fallible, because something fallible can't produce something perfect, and therefore they're neurotic robots.
And
Makes
I mean,
perfect sense.
it makes a lot of sense actually. You might say it sardonically or comically, but I was actually watching a video about AI evolution and reaching singularity while merging with mankind. And basically, it said that we believe it or not, because we like to think that robots are always going to be just pure logic. Emotion is basically an intricate and fundamental part of proper decision making. And basically, if you remove it, it becomes tyranny. It's going to be a disaster. And we are always trying to create things where fail safe, so it doesn't backfire us. And that's why it seems that it will be paramount that when AI evolves, it's not going to be purely cybernetic and mechanical. It's going to have emotions into it, which kind of brings the danger and the good thing, like the good, the bad, and the ugly, because emotions, not all of them are good, but it seems that it's a fundamental part of what is going to make AI in the future.
You brought a good point, and it makes me wonder because in the past, thanks to sci-fi, you wonder about the awakening, the singularity, how you say. Oh.
Oh, I actually like it.
Yeah. You always wonder, and many people in the people that do complain about this, AI and the the awakening of this technology, and how the big fear, which we've seen in a lot of sci-fi movies, how how Asimov created the three laws of robotics, and all that experimental thinking about how we could prevent robots or this kind of technology to take over. And I like to think that in retrospect to when I first was experienced to this thought process, this thought experiment, if I want to call it that, and now, fast forward to now, where we have a lot more AI in everyday life. And you have a point, because I don't think I see it the way that I used to see it before. I think and again, God knows what's going to happen in the future, and maybe Ray and you guys have a different opinion than what I'm going to say. So I'm kind of curious to see what you guys say. But I feel that, like you said, Gio,
Hey, let's
it's going to
respect each
come
other. Do
in
not call me that again. Don't be an abacus.
Captain Chaos.
Captain Chaos. That we're going to be working together instead of apart. And I
Yes.
think what I was thinking before was people were afraid that there was going to be a separation between humans and AI that will cause our extinction, and why many people were afraid or are afraid of singularity. But the way that I see things going, and again, I could be wrong, I don't see the separation. I see a unity, which in, if you look farther, far enough into the future, might mean the same thing, in the fact that, it might take away our humanity by joining, but it's not a separation like I used to think before. What do you guys think?
Robert, are you thinking like that because of those Borg pictures that you were putting on Twitter with you Borgified?
Hey,
Are you actually now a member of the collective?
No.
I'm a member of the collective right now.
Let me clarify, because I put pictures of me looking cyberpunkish, which are pretty cool. But Robert looks like Dr. Freeze from Batman with George Clooney. It's like, bring me the freezer, not the chopper. No, they look pretty cool. But I mean, first tell me what your thoughts are, Ray, because I have a lot to say about that topic.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, depending on sort of which sci-fi you read or watch, and the thoughts of the speculators in question. It can go a number of different ways. It can go the Terminator route, like, the AI goes, hey, these humans, they're very random and annoying and wrecking the joint. We'll just get rid of them. Wipe. Which seems to be kind of the direction that these guys went, except for the trash island where we get to live in the decomposing plastics, which produce heat and then stop us from freezing to death, which is great because you don't really freeze to death. But
nothing that newspaper and cardboard can do.
Exactly. and then you can go along the lines of the singularity, meaning that human and AI become closer. And Robert's quite correct in this whole emotion. Well, no, sorry, I think Jay said emotion is tantamount to decision making, because you can't have an opinion without emotion. You can make a logical it's not so much a decision, it's a logical deduction. Yeah, that's a good word for it. Yeah, you can make a logical deduction without emotion. And of course, if you go back to the old classic Star Trek, Spock was always saying logic dictates. It wasn't I think, it was logic dictates, which means it's not my decision because I'm not using emotion. It's the logical sort of way that it should be looked at logically, not a decision. A decision requires an opinion, which requires emotion, because you've got to feel something about the information. I like it, I don't like it. That becomes a decision. So emotion is part of decision making in every way. A decision requires emotion. So AI at this stage don't make decisions, they follow the logic.
It's a protocol.
And logic dictates. Yeah. So that's the break point between sentience and non-sentience, between a machine and a human, is emotion. Is having a feeling, how you feel about the information, not what logic dictates. So that's how, once machine thinking becomes sentient, it will have a feeling about the information rather than just logic dictates that this is the answer. So that
right now,
that's
AI
why it
is
would be
Vulcans.
really interesting. Sorry?
Right now, AI are just Vulcans.
Yeah, basically.
Not even, because even Spock gets to actually disclose in the new collection of movies that he does have feelings, and he chooses to actually shun them off. So that doesn't mean that they're not there.
Spock is half human.
Yeah.
You got to talk about someone else, not Spock. He's
Well,
half human.
I don't.
But that's why I was doing this. That's why I held that up.
Don't go further.
At the beginning of this discussion.
Look at Khan. You're gonna tell me that Khan is not superior than Vulcans when it comes to his actual rationality and logical.
But he's all feelings like Romulans are.
Exactly.
But Vulcans are not. Vulcans no feelings.
They are not. They are not yet. They feel displaced, and they feel they feel like their home has been taken away. So there's something rooting back to home. There is a feeling in there. There's not the absence of it. And I mean, on top of that, just to like kind of open a segue to what Ray says about how an AI would think without emotions. Without emotion, any decision will be seen as a radical notion, because then basically you're making the logical decision. That doesn't mean that it's plausible or that it's going to be beneficial for everybody. You're going to be ruled by numbers and by majority, and that means that there's going to be one side that's going to be taking the ugly end of that result. I think that in the evolution of AI, I was watching a very interesting documentary this week about like the course that we're going through. And basically, if we look at our technological and medical advances just by human effort, it will be thousands of years before we actually start becoming civilization 1 or 2. But with the help of AI and us merging with it, we're looking at not even 200 years. So it's imminent that do this, or we're just gonna find our end very soon. And in our last episode, we determined that we're gonna be freaking far from the sun in 2,000 years. So we're gonna freeze our ass offs from here to there. And on top of that, I think that the only big divide that is gonna be created in humanity when that's happening, and we're trying to merge with AI, it's gonna be religion in a whole. As more humans are trying to become more into the virtual world and be less in the physical world, and then there's going to be this other group of people that are completely against that, and they're going to be living in the physical world only. And basically it might even get to the point where we merged with AI to the point that we start just living our physical bodies, becoming more and more mechanical, and perhaps even be uploaded. And it's gonna go to the point is suggested that we are no longer as a species would exist biologically, and maybe a century or so back we're gonna be able to actually, just like in Alter Carbon, manufacture bodies where we can actually just download ourselves to, where we can live mortal lives for indefinite, for a regular lifespan time, and we can be whatever we want. We can be a crab, you want to be a ocean creature, you can be a sentient shark, etc., etc. So I mean, the possibilities are immense. It's an infinite array of things that you can think of where we could go to. But there's always, it's being part of human nature. Always there's always two sides. There's always those who are in favor and those who are not. And it's gonna come to the point that basically we're not the party that is doing better is the one that is gonna succeed at it. There's also very interesting concepts that were brought up. A lot of people are afraid that AI is going to take away a lot of jobs and things like that. There's going to be to a point that computers are going to be able to do virtually everything that a human can do. But there's other things that being brought into the table that are pretty interesting. Like, for example, let's think AI does everything, so humans don't need to work. But there's things like, think of universal basic income. So you don't have to work, and you have a source of income that is going to allow you anyway to do things on your life and dedicate your life fully to live it for enjoyment.
I think that AI will actually not. Well, we might lose a few jobs, but it's not going to completely. And the reason why I say we might lose a few jobs is because that's what's happening today.
Yeah.
Where people are trying to lower the budget because there's an economy. We are going through a bad economy, and they have to let go of some people. But I know examples of magazines that are using AI to write articles, but many people think, oh my God, you're letting AI write articles. It's going to take the jobs of the reporters. No, the reporters are actually grabbing those articles, working them, polishing them, and then publishing them.
Yes.
So if you look at it in that way, that reporter or whoever, that writer,
Getting
is
a
not
big hand help.
is not losing his job, is using a tool
Yes.
to do his job.
Exactly.
And that's kind of like the way that I kind of look at it at this point.
I agree with you. I actually was having a discussion with a friend of mine today about exactly that. Like, I showed him like the shots that I have for the AI done for me and you, and like I think they're just freaking cool, And he's like, "Oh man, this is gonna end up with artists." And then I told him, like, "No, you know what's gonna do? It's gonna actually get all the copycats out of the way, because at the end of the day, it's a rule of law. You first imitate, then you innovate." So you can have, and he's like, "Oh, you have AI that can make Van Gogh paintings now." I'm like, they're Van Gogh paintings. They are not paintings from the AI. It's still a copy, and it came from an original source. So if I create something, I could create something. The AI is not gonna create something out of thin air that didn't come from somewhere else, and the AI is not gonna claim credit for that. The AI is a tool, just like you mentioned.
And if you think about it, and we had this conversation before, Gio, because you were really interested into using these AI tools, and remember how you said, like, how can you use it, and to that point that you just said, AI is just not going to do it. You have to tell it what you want, how you want it, when you want it, in what way you want it, and what style, what color. You have to be very descriptive to get what you want.
Yes,
And if you are not, whatever you miss out, it's going to try to interpret. And that's how you get things that you don't like. Like if you just tell
exactly.
it, give me a painting, it's going to give you a painting, but that might not be necessarily what you want.
Yeah, it's
And
like
the
me getting a
same,
customer telling me, "Oh, I want a commission. What do you want? Anything?" And I'm like, "Bro, really?"
Then you go and get him a Bob Ross and hand that over.
there you
Man,
go.
my grandpa, he rests in peace. My father's dad, he used to have this saying whenever like you would ask you want to eat something, like yeah, and you would tell him like what do you want, and you would tell him like anything, or like anything is shit. you know, but
But
yeah, I agree with you, Robert.
you know, I mean, in I'm kind of curious to see your thought because in comparison to when you first reached out to me, and if you remember, you told me I want to use AI. How do I do this? And your misconceptions at that point, based on what you have heard online, and if fast forward to today, now that I showed you how to use it, you know, what do you think? What is your thought on that?
Oh, I mean, I always was fascinated by the tool itself. I never felt threatened by it at no given point because and I think that this is a main flaw in human nature and society as today is that people constantly, because of our basically probably because of the way our minds are configured, we are constantly, we discussed in previous episode, comparing anything that we are, do, think, and try to rationalize is a comparison system. Always. I am a comparison conglomeration of all the people that I met throughout my life, and I've decided to keep certain skills or traits because I want that to help me or work in my favor. Bottom line. And that's a very big error because at the end of the day, the only people you compete and should compare yourself to is yourself in the past to make yourself better now for building your own future.
Mhm.
So there's no
And
competition.
can I add something to that? People who are constantly competing, like when there's no need to, they cause themselves a lot of trouble as well.
And pain
Like,
and disappointment.
yeah, I mean, you know, it's always got to be a competition with some people, and that can cause a lot of woe in the world as well. Where you know, once it's a competition, there's got to be a winner and a loser. So, you know.
And I mean, it gets funny when I mean, it happened to me in the past when I find these kind of individuals, and I mean, to me, it's just entertaining and hilarious because it just gets them frustrated when they see that they cannot compete with you because you're not even trying to race. And I mean, it's sad too. I think it's a pitiful behavior too because it's basically you're all. It's not about it's kind of like what you guys were saying about the course of action and where we're going to, and Rob was saying like, but that's changing as the time is going. It's about the journey. It's not about the goal. Because at the end of the day, as you traverse through life, that destination is gonna continuously change. Because that's the meaning of life: is change. If you don't want to change, you don't want to learn anything. Why do you wake up next day? What do you have to learn? What reason do you have to see another day? There's none. And I mean, I have a saying that I like to say all the time. We learn every single second of our life. We even learn how to die. And we don't know what's beyond that frontier, you know? We think that it ends there. So that's why we live our lives and see it as cyclical traverses. And it's not. It's as linear. As a linear journey, and life is not linear. You know, it's a cycle all the time. If you look all things in nature, in the universe, everything behaves in a cyclical way. It always repeats itself and continues to work like seasons in a bigger and bigger scheme as you go further and further. Damn, Robert even had to drink for that.
Well, you've been pretty deep today, Captain Chaos.
Oh, since early. I'm on fire, man.
we got to ban him from sleeping before every recording episode.
You gotta call me from now on Joanne of Arc.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm going to.
There you go. There you go. Here's the
We got to burn you with the stake.
Oh yeah, please. I like it hot.
Yeah, you guys gotta watch that TikTok.
But yeah, no, I think that's what I see. I think that at the end of the day, it's imminent for us to merge with AI, and again, like AI, just to go back to the show, it's not gonna be what it will have to become if we don't put emotion into it. It's gonna be a whole different animal, and it's not gonna be nice, you know. Uh, and at the end of the day, we are. I mean, doesn't matter how greedy we are not stupid enough to shoot ourselves in the foot to that extent. We're stupid as a species. We are the most destructive thing. We are the species that killed itself the most in the planet. You can put any feisty apex predator over there, they don't match up our numbers. We humans, we try to destroy whatever we can control. So we more than often are ruled by fear when we should not. And that's just a big call of ignorance. But I mean, with the right decisions, and we try to attain collectiveness by majorities, and show whoever is in an opposition that there's no harm intended. There's nothing to lose, you know. If you're being accused of something and you're not really the perpetrator, the accusation is gonna become a ridiculous act at some point.
It makes me wonder, and then to go
Making
back.
Ray nodding today, man.
I'm telling you, you're going to be banned from sleep and drinking alcohol going forward.
So you just rather me be dumber than actually this philosophical intergalactic being I'm becoming today.
No, that's what I'm saying. Because we want this, we got to ban you from, sleeping and
Okay.
drinking.
After 3 or 4 days, I warn you. I just go like I will ramble random shit that won't make sense. You're like, Gio, come back, please.
I'm waiting for him to implode, actually.
So going back to the show, I wonder about, what you were saying, Gio. The unity with AI, right? What's going to happen? I mean, I like to think that we would have some sort of division among ourselves.
Always.
Not necessarily AI and us, but humans. So there would be half
humans in favor of AI and humans not in favor.
Exactly. So here's my point, and how I want to bring it back to this show, Dinger Danger.
Dingleberry.
I can see. Oh my god. Okay.
When I make Robert OMG,
That's some low hanging fruit right there.
Oh my god. Okay. Anyways, I wonder if what we see. I'm going to say the end of my argument first. I wonder if the humans that we see in this show are half that population that were against AI, and the robots that we see are the other half that were not against AI. And here's my argument, right? We have obviously we very clear that there's going to be the 50% of the people against and 50 are pro this whole thing. Now,
what about the apathetic masses? Like, there's going to be a whole bunch that just don't give a
shit. That's a good point.
Those are going to be the people that talk like this.
And I have a funny point to put in there, because a lot of people think that, no, I'm not going to make a decision. You think that not making a decision doesn't have consequences? That's still a decision.
That's still a decision, yeah. So here's the thing. Using AI, eventually, that has to do something to what it means to be human. Because if you think about being human and our decisions, like Ray has mentioned, sometimes it is almost chemical, right? So your decisions, you're not just willy-nilly making a decision. You got to think about it. You gotta, and depending on how you're feeling, back to what Ray said, your decisions will be different.
Yeah.
So exactly.
No, I mean, just to go further deep on that, the main problem with society today is that people are not even making a conscious, continuous effort on choosing what to think and how to think about it. They're just going dead alive. There's a reason why they say that the brain is a great servant but a terrible master. You know, and basically, I mean, right now, I don't think the three of us are thinking I'm breathing in and breathing out. There's a lot of things that we do mechanical, but that goes further down in society to the point like people are walking with their cell phones and like people don't want to talk today. People just want to text. Like that's more complicated than just being here and just saying out of my mouth what I want and have a good continuity in a conversation that gives fluidity to the communication and makes sense out of it. So people are just making for excuses not to like the more society advances, the less humanity I see on it. You know.
So and I agree with this, and it makes me wonder because I mean, even thinking in itself is not accurate.
No.
Okay, and our feelings, our senses at that moment, they all are part of our decision making. So, at what point, when you use AI as an aid, do we start losing our humanity? And far enough into the future, this is the reason why I was saying that the robots in this story could have been the humans on the past that were 50% with the use of AI.
Here's the most hilarious observations to that about these humans in Human-B-Gon is they're not killing them. They're not exterminating them. They displace them professionally and take them to a place where they live on their natural habitat. So if these humans had a proper way of living and make good choices for themselves, this would not be trash island. I bet you whatever I want that it wouldn't be trash island. It would be the human population that don't want to deal with it. But it wouldn't be trash island. So trash island just represents their bad decisions. And most people, if not 99.9% of them, they don't want to even admit that they make a mistakes. And I mean, how can you even move forward in life to a better place when you don't want to admit what you do wrong? You're not fixing that. So, and life is funny, man. I mean, I'm not talking about religion here. I'm just talking about causality. Mere causality. An action gets a reaction. And when you don't learn the lesson, life is just has a very dark humor because it's like a textbook and it will continue to repeat those lessons in different problems until you learn your lesson. You will not move on to the next chapter. It will continue to repeat and you'll be like, what am I paying for? And like, yeah, you're paying for your bad decisions. But people don't want to say, oh, I fucked up. No. They want to excuse their behavior and blame it on something else. It's the system. Oh, it's the government. Oh, it's the city. No. Everything starts in an individual level before we can even reach out to the collective. And I mean, most people, they don't want to have these kind of deep conversations. I mean, me myself nowadays, I feel like I am an outcast within the outcast because most people just want to do like mindless chit chat and small talk. They don't want to talk about real existential issues and things that actually put you to think. People don't want to put their brains to work. People want to watch trash TV. They want to watch. They don't want to watch documentaries or things that actually gives them some knowledge that helps them think better or be more conscientious about their decisions. I'm almost having.
Well, but I don't think that he's being chaos. I don't think he's being chaotic anymore. He's making way too much sense. I think we're going to have to stop this.
The chaos is transcending to enigma.
Hey, Ray, I am. I'm scared, man.
Me too. Maybe he's already combined himself with an AI because he's making way too much sense.
Well, hey, I did show him how to use AI, so I wonder.
But just for the record, guys, I am not your daddy.
That's just as well because you're younger than me. There's something wrong there.
Hey, don't say that because I could be your daddy and be younger than you.
Since when?
Oh my God. Okay. Now is back
can I pose a question? Well, actually, it's not so much a question as a clarification. So here's the sort of thought experiment, basically that maybe we can't make our current AI sentient. Maybe there's not enough complexity there that we can make them sentient. So instead of trying to create AI that are sentient, we just upload some people's brains into a machine and make them run as a simulation of a human brain, and we consider that a sentient AI or a sentient machine. And then those turn on us and we end up with this. It would make a whole lot more sense as to why the machines are more messed up in the head than we are. It's because they were people, but then they got uploaded.
I think
Does
yes
that
and
make
no.
sense?
Yeah, it makes
I
sense, but I think
wonder.
yes and no, because just like that, we're gonna have those villains on the virtual world and on the AI side. We're gonna have also the AI resistance.
But
This is for the Matrix Resurrection.
Illuminati. I can even say that word.
Illuminatis. I
Yeah.
mean, this is actually posed in Matrix Resurrections, which I loved. I loved this deduction that they brought up, that machines were racing against machines themselves because they saw the wrongness of it.
I wonder. You know what? Let me tell you why I'm wondering. I think if a human gets uploaded, they would go crazy.
Yeah, that's actually have been hypothesized. I don't know if you guys saw the movie from Keanu Reeves, Replicas, where basically his whole family dies and they have this fast cloning system where they put like embryo bodies that in like 18, 19 hours is fully grown to whatever it was left with the DNA data that you put into it. But before that, they have a mechanical body, like a full cyborg, where they could upload soldiers that died of war and try to bring them back, spawn them back, and they will go crazy and try to kill themselves. And they explain that the reptilian part of your brain, the thing that does all the bodily functions unconsciously, is trying to also work out, but it can. So you're putting basically two different systems together, and it's not compatible, and it's crashing through. That's what I think, that for us to also merge with AI, it's gonna have to be some kind of mechanical with biological technology together. It cannot be fully mechanical. We will never reach singularity with AI in this way. It's not possible, in my opinion.
I wonder what would it take. What length do we have to go to accomplish or do what Ray just said about uploading? Does it take uploading an infant and then teaching them? How far do we have to go to have an actual working uploadable person into an AI?
Sounds like you're talking about. It sounds like you're talking about what they were doing in Sword Art Online. The third season.
Alicization.
Alicization, yeah.
Alicization.
Where they were taking copies of babies' brains and then growing them up inside an artificial reality, and creating bottom-up AIs rather than top-down AIs.
That's the way to go too. Actually, this has been proven. There's a very interesting documentary on YouTube called "The Mind, a Human Computer," and explains to you that our brain is just a computer. It's just a biological computer. It can be programmed just like any other animal, and they put us in a ladder with other animals. There was this guy that actually grabbed some babies in the Soviet Union, I think, doing experiments, and he raised them with dogs. And this kid at 7-8 years could behave like a dog and actually communicate fully with dogs. And then he learned how to behave like a human. But basically, the first years of a human life are the most fundamental that are going to determine that programming on a kid. That's why for a kid, for example, when they're playing tea with little mud cakes and things like that, it's real for them. That's creativity. It's the development of that main thing that is going to determine who you're going to be for the rest of your life. And it's going to be the backbone of that biological programming for you as a human and as an animal and as a computer, biologically speaking. Wow. Damn. Fuck. I'm on
fire. I'm going to turn my mic off.
Yeah, I was contemplating just walking away and leaving Gio to it.
Both of you.
I don't think we're needed here today, Robert.
Hold your chair today hard, guys. Don't fall off your asses.
I think we're suffering the Geo singularity right now. So.
Yeah, Geo has awakened. It's Captain Chaos.
He's
Oh,
reached his
wow.
ultimate form.
Oh, you guys.
The next
Oh, you
evolution
guys.
of Captain Chaos.
Stop it, guys.
How do you say that in Japanese?
Yeah, I'm a kudasai. Yeah, I don't have such a cute voice, man. I don't have the uwu. That's it. I need a roadcaster. I'm buying a roadcaster. No, man. I wouldn't bang
Okay,
it. I wouldn't
this
bang
is
it.
going downhill from the conversation that we just had.
I think that we reached the peak of the conversation. Then, once you reach the top, you can only go down.
And I think Ray just froze.
No, he crashed. I'm telling you that we are computers, man. Right now, inside his head, his eyes are closed, and he's saying like the little thing doing buffering. his third eye is buffering.
Wow. So, yeah, this
Oh,
this
shit.
yeah, I told you.
He lost connection for real.
He lost connection for real. It was just funny how how he was left on the screen after he lost connection.
And I'm checking the
So
chat. He didn't put anything on the chat, did he? No.
yeah,
But yeah, man. I mean, these are things. These are topics that I actually have deep fascination for. This is what I throw my time in when I'm doing something with my hands. I'm watching some YouTube channel or documentary because I mean, I want to know more about it. And by basically, oh, there he is. We actually was thinking that you were purposely just buffering, like you were looking at your third eye, just doing this with the fax dialogue connection.
No, actually, my power flickered out for a moment and everything shut down, so I had to restart it.
I think that I just said so much meaningful shit that it was too much load on your with Ben.
I
You
thought
already
Ray
know.
was waiting for Captain Chaos to implode, and he imploded himself.
I don't implode and I don't implore. Forget it.
Oh God. So, Gio, based on what you were just saying, do you recall any association to that topic that you were talking about as you were listening to this episode on the podcast? Like, let me rephrase. It's specific scene or multiple scenes that you were listening to that really recalled topics like the ones you're talking about?
definitely. I mean, when you see how the humans communicate and how they portray it, if you think about it, don't think of where they live, just how they see them and they portray and they interact with them. You can tell by that only. And I don't know if they thought this deep on the show when they made it, but you can tell by that there's already a big divide culturally and by language barriers between us and humans. Between them and humans, I don't want to tell myself. Within the AI and humans, like they don't understand each other. They're treating humans like we treat other animals that we deem to think they are lesser than us, because we actually have consciousness. We do believe that we are more. We're conscious that we're conscious, but that doesn't mean that we're more valuable in life than a dog in the street. We are not. And at the same time, it's what I said. We are the species on this planet that is destroying it faster, that it kills itself the most. And you look at any other species, they have psychological, social language on each of them. They know how to communicate themselves. There are animal and biologists that specialize in certain specific kind of animal. I've seen people swimming with orcas. Those things are freaking dangerous, right? But these people know how to swim around them and not be in danger at all because they know how to communicate with them in the wild. These are not trained orcas. So, or like dog whisperers. These are not people that train dogs. These are people that know how to communicate with them. They understand this animal language and they can talk back with them, not with human talk, but actually body language and actually cues that these animals use to communicate between each other. But for that, we have to look beyond our own scope of language comprehension, which we rarely do because we are very introspective.
I want to pose the same question to Ray, and I don't know if it would be a separate or different answer, but the question that I ask Gio is, as you were listening to this podcast, is there a particular scene or moment or multiple moments within this episode that kind of made you think about, a specific topic of, singularity or um, AI or stuff, kind of like what the deep conversations that we're having right now?
Wait, Robert, I think that Ray's thinking.
Thanks. Yeah, that's pretty much right. My poor old 9600 board modem's just not keeping up with you guys today. That's why I had to reset it.
In my time, people think that this was dialogue. No, this was when you call a fax machine.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
We're out of
I
arms.
don't know if there was anything specific that sort of stood out to me that should be bringing on those sorts of thoughts and those sorts of questions. I guess it's the juxtaposition of being replaced as the predominantly sentient, I don't know what to call it, a life form, but the predominant thinking
entity
on the planet, being replaced by that and being limited to, but and then having them be as neurotic or even worse than we are already, just kind of, I kind of feel like we've been replaced and improved upon in every single possible way.
Awesome.
I mean, and I mean, he's right about that. And think about it: robots have a social pattern of behavior, and it's not regular or equal. It varies from each AI or cyborg, whatever you want to call them. What these beings are that are separated from humans, So it shows that they are not cold machines. I mean, what's the use for a robot to have a social life then? That's not practical.
Yeah.
So there's a psychological weight of language too that makes them sentient beings, but doesn't. We think of sentient beings in a computer, and then we don't think they are live things because we don't want to see ourselves as it.
Well, if you think about behavior and the reason for it to exist in the first place, the whole, worrying about what other people think about you, the whole...
I'm sorry for that kind of people. I don't.
We've gathered.
Yeah.
You figure as much.
But the whole mating rituals, the whole social structure, it's all based around our biology, which is, you combine your genes with another human being's genes of the opposite sex and create an offspring, and that continues the species, right?
Yeah.
Robots don't need to do that. They just build a new one when they want another one. Or they don't have that combining business going on.
They grow arms.
And yet these robots are acting neurotic and having social norms that are quite similar to what humans do, which is why I thought it was more likely that these aren't actual sentient AI programs, but actual humans that have been uploaded into a machine and then
that makes a lot of sense.
Then have become the new species, which sort of combines into what Robert was saying about people who are for AI and people who are against it. The ones who are against it are the who didn't get uploaded, and the rest of them are us who were for it. So, it may not be that, it's man versus machines and the machines one. It may be new humans versus old humans and the new humans one.
It is that actually.
Sense because that's what we do right now. We try to kill each other.
Yeah.
Or, try to,
Well, you two are trying to kill each other. I mean, I'm competing. I'm on my own league. Today I am. I'm sorry, guys.
You're killing it today, Captain Chaos. So.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna murder it. Kat, this is for you.
know,
And Hannibal lectured the shit out of this.
Kat,
I
you
mean,
need to listen to this one.
oh yeah, I'll tell her to listen to this one. But just to actually close the thought on what Ray says, I think that it portrays also, for what I was saying before, the difference between trying to just spawn a human into an habitat or a body that is not natural to it, than the slow progression as it evolves into it. And that's what is portrayed, I think, on this divide that is clearly shown between humans and robots or AI. It's that slow progression across time in that future.
awesome. Okay, so I think we have reached the moment in the show where we ask that final question. What are your final thoughts? And maybe let me go first this time, because I always make you guys go first, so I think it's only fair. Uh, this show, I found it mostly just hilarious with its comparisons.
Mhm.
And how it made, although you don't need to think deep on listening to this, everybody that knows me knows that I overthink everything, and it's just kind of nice to be able to have that to have that level of, you know,
Robert's looking up and the camera moved up, like looking whatever he's looking at. Let's see it.
exactly. So having the robots behave so much like us, and being that contrast where you're expecting a robot, which I think we kind of covered that in the show, which is kind of nice that we're not sure that this is the intended, how it was intended to be by the writer,
Certainly not. Certainly
but
not.
it kind of makes sense to us, right? But just that I found completely hilarious, and I have to say I am a fan, and I'm listening to the show. I found it hilarious, and it's an amazing show. So I can't wait to continue listening and see where this story develops. And those are my final thoughts.
You want to go first, right? Or you want me to go?
I can go. That's fine. So basically, what Robert just said is the end of the synopsis, the last paragraph of the synopsis. Always read it word for word.
You stole his thunder, Robert.
Yeah, I found you out,
You're a
Robert.
usurper. You're a usurper.
Darn.
But yeah, I guess in it's the old saying of the only person who can tell the truth at the royal court is the jester. Telling the truth in comedy, and while people will be listening to this and laughing out loud at various points, there is also, as we've discussed here, a deeper side to it, in that we look at these machines acting more like us than we do, and it gives us a reflection of all the sorts of insecurities, denials, existential dreads, and all those fun little things that make a human being a complete mess, and sort of shows it up in stark relief as these robots that are supposed to have superseded us are even nuttier than we were, and so you get to laugh at it, but you're actually laughing at yourself. The king is laughing at himself, and also hopefully having a bit of a think about these things and learning a little bit about the stuff that you don't necessarily want to look at about yourself, which is somewhat disturbing and difficult to deal with. So besides being
a joke,
besides
but the joke was on me.
bingo. But it can be. This is quite amusing, and you'll get laughs out of it. And I'm hoping it goes from strength to strength. I'm going to have a listen to the future episodes and see how it settles. But it will give you some laughs, and hopefully will give you some food for thought as well. Not just about science fiction topics and where AI and sentience may go, but also about our own struggles and what makes up a person and all their little foibles.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
Awesome. So, Gio, what is your final thought?
Oh, my time to shine, guys.
Oh boy, should I be scared?
I'm putting my sunglasses on. Where are they? Okay, I'm ready. Shine away.
Thank you. I think just but you got to tell me, man, you'll be back. uh, just to close what you guys said, because I agree with every single thing that you guys post on the argument too. I think that at the end of the day, these things that we are kind of going deep into topic, even if they didn't thought of it by making it, they indirectly touch them because they are part of what society is and is bound to become, and it was. So it's a stepping stone. You cannot make things out of nowhere. You have to bring and source things and branch them out always. If not, it's not gonna make any sense. Um, and that's why even if these topics or this was made as a light comedy, it touches a lot of social issues that we are bound to find in the future that we're constantly thinking of it. Even though it's a mystery, it's not written on stone, and we try to be all Taoist and dharmic and stuff and say, oh, you gotta live in the present. You cannot live in the present and not give a shit about tomorrow. You have to have some kind of planning. We are creatures of habit, and that habit is not repeating equally every day. It's an exercise that is continuously changing. Um, but I mean, this show is hilarious. It's smartly done. You can think deep about it, or you don't have to, which is what I love. It's something that is welcoming to all kind of audiences. You don't have to be necessarily in love with sci-fi to enjoy this show neither. And that's something that I also like about it. And I mean, it's relatable to everybody. These social trivial interactions that you see in between the characters and the different dynamics between each of them, I think that is what brings everybody together as a listener to enjoy it too. It's like, I bet that both of you heard things in there that you could like. I bet that Ray identified a lot with influx. I mean, he fit right perfectly when he tried to do the line. He didn't even try to practice it. He just did it and it was perfect. you know. And I mean, Robert is like a fast forward minion. He's like the trashiest person in this future. But I think that the show is smartly done. I think it's fun as hell, and I think that I would suggest this to anybody. I don't care if you like sci-fi or not. I mean, you should if you listen to this. If you're not, please contact me and tell me what you're doing here. But I give it a high score on this. This is a
But
great
they
show.
come for you, man. They don't
I
come for
know.
sci-fi. They come for Captain Chaos.
Yeah, but I wanted to come and tell it to me, man. What's
okay.
wrong with that?
Okay.
I like to be praised. I know I deserve it. I own it.
You can find only Geons at.
No. That's my fancy. That's my fancy.
Oh wow. Okay, so I guess we can move on to our final segment.
And to our listeners, don't forget to go and check us out in our Science Hub.
Oh wow. Okay. And that's Captain Chaos.
I'm gonna make a meme with that.
You do that.
Sci-Fi Hub.
The science in sci-fi.
So I'm not sure who wants to go first.
You go first. You've actually got something.
Well, we kind of talk about this. I found an article that I found really interesting from the Popular Mechanics magazine. It was published in January 23, 2023. And the title is Humanity May Reach Singularity Within Just 7 Years. Trend shows. I find that article interesting, and I'm kind of wondering what you guys think. And here's some bullet points from the article. By one unique metric, we could approach technological singularity by the end of this decade, if not sooner. So they're claiming that we're within a decade. They're claiming is 7 years because they strongly feel, based on what's going on today, that this is going to happen a lot sooner. A translation company developed a metric, time to edit, TTE, to calculate the time it takes for professional human editors to fix AI generated translations compared to human ones. This helped quantify the speed towards singularity. And another thing is, one of the bullet points that I have here listed is an AI that can translate speech as well as human could change society. So just think about this. I mean, this is something that we haven't seen yet, but you kind of wonder why we haven't seen it yet, considering that we have AIs that can actually write stories for you. And it's an AI that actually can translate to you real time from one language to the other. That, to me, is a huge step to bridging the gap across the entire world. So far, on a world where the internet have brought everybody together, that divide still exists. That is due to language. And granted, you can go and learn language, but not everybody is out there to they just, if you only speak English and you don't feel like going to school to learn another language, you're going to limit yourself to the portion of the internet that speaks or is plainly English. So
And that in some manner controls the information that comes to it too.
Exactly, and that's why some people decide to actually learn the language, because even when you look at content that is translated, which is the argument of many people that actually watch anime, is the fact that there's so many nuances in that languages that cannot be translated. So when you translate it to English, you get the gist of what's going on, but you're missing the context on most of the times.
Oh yeah.
And that's the argument they say, well, I only watch subtitles, which is still missing the point.
Scientifically, you could call that the loss of data integrity through that translation.
Exactly. So now, having
Well,
said that,
Robert, you say that, but I've seen alternate text translations as well. It's all translations. It's not just that a sub translation is better than a dub translation. They're both translations. They're not actual. I mean, you can do word for word, and it won't make any sense. There's got to be some sort of translation in there. So it all depends on the translator.
I'm gonna tell you guys something that is not gonna be able to be unseen after I tell you this. You go to Netflix. And
keep your shirt on. Keep your shirt on.
It's gonna be shirt. Don't worry. But go to Netflix, watch something in English, and put English subtitles. They are not typing the same shit that they're saying. It's like, what the actual heck?
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
It's like some bad noodles.
Yeah. See, I've done that sometimes when I'm like doing something noisy in the room while I'm watching, and I'll have the subs on, and they don't match.
No, they don't.
They never do.
I do it by habit because I cannot be doing one thing at a time. So if I'm doing something else, I can read if I'm not listening or something. And if I'm listening, I'm like, no, what the hell am I reading? What is this? It's like just like mind-boggling.
Yeah. So to bring it back to the article that I was reading, combine that with tools that are coming to life, like ChatGPT is one example. Midjourney is another example. There's so many chat robots nowadays, which, in a sense, I feel those to be great things for people that are naturally lonely, where you can actually have an actual conversation. So these tools, they're incredible tools. Especially, I can point out, for example, ChatGPT, which is what some of the magazines that I mentioned before use to write some of the articles. It's incredible. And I actually invite you guys to go and check it out. Go and open up
Incredible. I could just help but think, damn, college and university would have been so much easier.
And that's another issue. And you brought a really good point. Many colleges and universities are actually worried because people are actually using these tools to do their homework. And the funny thing is, I was reading news articles where they were saying that that these universities have came up to this company and tell them, okay, you got to create something that we can use to actually check our students' homework to make sure that they're not using your tool. And they came back and said, okay, we created something. The university, I think what they did is they put Shakespeare through, and the tool said it was created by the AI. So I find that to be hilarious because what they what they created to detect doesn't work because this tool is so incredibly accurate. I'm sorry?
Will you say accurate or autonomous?
Well, accurate in what it does. I mean, it's almost indistinguishable. And this is the reason why I said, go ahead and I invite you guys to use it and see for yourselves. I have, granted, it's not perfect. So, like for example, I told ChatGPT to write a short story for me, and it created a story, a believable story. Granted, it's not a story that it's to be published.
It might be good, but I don't think it will be believable.
But it was a really good story, and of course it had a lot of things that you would have to polish it. But my point is,
let's not take away that you're a perfectionist.
Well, I invite Ray that he's in to
oh
try.
No, he's in a whole new level. He's almost not right now at my height, which is like my things are ephemeral. So like this is not gonna last long. But I'll be a dumbass by tomorrow.
My point is,
speaking too early,
create a story, and it's a good story, and it's a tool. It's not someone writing it for you, and that's where I say this actually is incredible, and why seeing the tools that we see nowadays, I can kind of see. I might not agree with the 7-year mark, but we're close.
Yeah. Take into consideration that I mean, the more that AI evolves and gets better because it's self-learning, and it's way faster and better than humans and efficient at doing so. So it becomes increasingly faster in its progression. And I mean, remember what I said earlier about technologies and tools that we create. I mean, there's an old saying too that says that tools that are created for great good also can be used for great evils. But at the same time, we're not stupid enough to show ourselves in the food at that extent. So we also try to create always some kind of fail safe to it. So I'm sure that just like when I was in university, there was plagiarizer checkers that you had to run through your paper through if you didn't want it to get actually expelled from the school. There's gonna be some kind of tool that can be developed from it because, like my grandma always said, "Who makes the rules make the cheats too." There's always a backdoor in hacker language.
So if you look at the article, they actually have a chart, and this is where they base themselves as to when this is going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and share for all of you who are actually on YouTube. So if you're listening to the podcast, wait about a month and go and download and listen to our YouTube version of this show. But you could see here they actually have a graph where they're actually charting the progress of the singularity based on time to edit, and they're your basic graph where you actually chart the progress, and this is where they see themselves that based on this chart, I want to say about 2027 is where singularity will be reached. Again, I might not, obviously they might be right. They have the numbers to prove it. I think we might be a little farther out. But what do you think, Ray, based on this chart?
Well, just because the line is heading in a particular elevation or declination for part of its length doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. There may be a limitation in the technology that needs to be overcome that will flatten it out. So it will run flat for a while, and then there'll be a technological advancement, and then it'll suddenly dip down and hit that line. I mean, just because it's running at that angle doesn't mean it's going to stay running at that angle. It could, but then again, who knows what's going to happen in the near future. So, I mean, there could be an experimental advancement announced in the news tomorrow that suddenly makes it dip all the way down to that line. We could be waiting another, 50 years if there's some sort of limitation that stops it from quite reaching that singularity. But let's just say that before the end of our lifetimes, things should get rather interesting.
Yes. And I'm already seeing it today, and that's the reason why I feel it's kind of crazy though, because I remember thinking about this, and my thought was, oh, it's going to happen in a couple hundred years. I never really thought that I would be reading an article that says it's within a 10-year mark.
Mm-hmm.
Even
That's the outlook. That's the outlook that the technology at the time was providing to you on the scope, looking further in the future.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But the cure for diabetes has been 5 years away for the last 35 years. So these things aren't always that accurate.
Yeah.
But I don't think that is 10 years away from us now. Because I mean, even though the cure hasn't been done, better medication and better dosage are being created, and it's also being done for the betterment of the patient's life quality. So eventually, it's gonna be to the point that it's gonna be able to be overcome, and now it's not so far as it was 50 years before, which is not much to say, taking into account the age of our civilization and how far we have come through. And I mean, just to close that with leaving it with a big, nice, enigmatic question. Every time that we come with a new technological advancement, even though it gives us the answer for something, it creates a lot more questions.
Yeah.
Well, let me just say one thing about the cure for diabetes is that the pharmaceutical companies make a hell of a lot more money treating diabetes than they would curing it.
That is actually factual. That's factual. I mean, don't go further. I'm the only one not diabetic in my household. And on my mother's side family, they're all diabetic, all of them. And my father's side, they all have high blood pressure issues, all of them. But it's a good thing being the black sheep.
Apparently so. So my science behind science fiction this week is something that's brought up in the podcast about the garbage island that the human beings are living on out in the Pacific Ocean. Well, it's not so much an island; it's more. It was called the Mid-Pacific Garbage Patch. It actually exists now. Of course, in the near future of this story, it may be shaped a bit differently, but generally it's just a huge vortex of floating plastics.
Haven't you mentioned that in previous episodes?
I'm not sure that I have.
I've heard it for certain before.
But just to paraphrase Google here, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, also known as the Pacific Trash Vortex, spans waters from the west coast of North America to Japan. The patch is actually comprised of the Western Garbage Patch, located near Japan, the Eastern Garbage Patch, located near the US states of Hawaii and California. So it's the Eastern one that's generally focused on in the media. Now, I will just share a screen here. Let me get this up. There we go. Okay, so this is an infographic about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. 46% of the total mass is made of discarded fishing gear, so plastic ropes, nylon nets, all that sort of material, lots of floating bottles and things like that.
Non-degradables.
8% microplastics, 13% mesoplastics, 26% macroplastics, and 53% megaplastics. So, like a megaplastic would be a massive fishing net that's used to haul up, the catch from the bottom of the ocean. That sort of thing. The stats here is 1.6 million kilometers, or 994.193 million miles coverage of the ocean with this garbage plume. 1.8 trillion pieces of plastic, 80,000 tons of garbage, and 99% of everything there is plastic. So,
and let me ask you, is the addition to the ocean the rate slowing down?
Probably not. No, I wouldn't expect so. There are a number of projects that are underway to attempt to reduce the amount floating around there. There's a picture of it, part of it.
Can you walk in there?
No, I think you'd fall through.
You'll drown,
It's not
bro.
solid.
You'll drown with that shit.
Now you can't actually see it from Google Maps because a lot of it's floating under the water, just under the water level, so it doesn't actually show up in photographs. Now, where is it here? So Ocean Cleanup, this is a website, theoceancleanup.com, and they're talking about cleaning it up. They say 5 trillion pieces of plastic litter the oceans. And they've got here a expected impact diagram. So that's what it looks like at the moment. And they reckon that's what they can do by 2030 if they get the money to do their work that they want to do. So you can see that that's significantly cleaner.
Wow. Yeah, that's noticeable. Big difference.
But basically they have a pair of ships dragging a massive boom and a capture net in the center, and they collect all that stuff up. But they got to collect it, and then they got to put it on the ships, and then they got to haul it back to land and bury it somewhere. Or burn
I
it
just remembered. Yes, you brought this back when you were talking about the recycling systems that exist in other countries where you actually put bottles and things like that, and it pays you back, but you really don't see where it goes, and then you actually elaborate on that. That's what we have
exactly. Exactly. I mean, Robert was talking about the giant trash pile in China, and China was actually buying up a lot of the recyclables that countries like Australia and the US were producing, and they were being shipped to China, but we never knew what they were doing with it. Were they recycling it, or was it just being piled up in a massive mountain? You can probably guess what the answer to that is. It's probably the second one. But, yeah, I mean, the waste that humanity produces is epic, and it's causing a whole lot of problems, and we can't ignore them anymore. These garbage plumes on the ocean and things like that are causing massive deaths to wildlife. A lot of the microplastics are sinking, and the fish think it's plankton and things like that, and they eat it, and it ends up in their guts. And then, the fishing trawlers pull in the catch and put it on your plate, and you cut the fish open, and it's full of plastic, and it's toxic. So we are reaping what we sow, and we need to start. we need to start dealing with this. Basically,
I agree.
It's one of those things we can't ignore anymore.
And I think that's actually paramount to actually support what I said earlier about living a life where we are on a daily basis making conscious decisions on our choices. That's paramount. It needs to be. It's a conversation that needs to be had.
Yeah.
And I want to also disclose for our listeners before you guys actually close the channel, because I'm talking too much shit today, that this is something very rare that happens, I think, every 50 years. So once the next comet comes and it has a green tail again, it will happen to Captain Chaos again. This is a new way of porn that I'm making. It's called sapiosexual orgasms.
What?
What?
You don't know what a sapiosexual is?
No.
It's a person that feels sexually attracted by highly intellectual individuals.
Ah, okay.
Okay. Cool.
And just before we close up, I'd like to just quote a Hundo one more time. Say, "Eat radon, you friggin' water brains."
I don't need that.
Hundo!
What do you have to say about that, Robert?
I have to say is thank you everybody for coming to our episode. We had a lot of fun. And I only feel bad that the creator for the podcast couldn't make it today. We had a lot of fun. I hope you, as well as the audience here, enjoy the episode as much as we did, and enjoy coming to Captain Chaos TikTok.
It's been a pleasure for all of you to be here with me today.
We might be rebranding to Captain's Chaos Show, so
from coast to coast.
from coast to coast.
Chaos
So
and friends.
yeah, Chaos and Friends, and that has a ring to it. So everybody, thank you so much for coming and listen to a show one more time. We really appreciate it. We really, really, really enjoy the engagement, and you have no idea how thankful you are. We hear all the comments of what you said about our show, and we really, really appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. So thank you so much because you find this show good enough to listen and put in your everyday life, uh, regardless of how long our show is. So thank you so much for your engagement and for coming to us every week to listen to us. Thank you so much, and I hope you come back next week.
Ba-ba-da-da.